I don't know how well this video is going to come across, but this is a new thing that I'm working on. Weird time signatures. That's something that I've been experimenting with lately because I've been having issues thinking about making dubstep that isn't boring to listen to. And I understand that dubstep is dance music, okay, but I also think that it is perfectly reasonable for me to make dubstep in 10/8 if I want to. And that's what I did. Basically, I set the tempo of the track to be in 5/4, the time signature to be 5/4, and then I sort of moved, and then I sort of just pretended that it was in 10/8 because if I were to set it to actually be 10/8, I would have to set the BPM to be like 300 for it to be for it to actually count properly. Because the in 10/8, if you don't know, in basic music theory thing, 10/8 is what is called a hybrid time signature, where some of the main pulses are longer than other main pulses, and the way it can be divided up is in several different ways. And in this track, I've divided it up so the first two beats of the bar are 3/8 notes long, and the second two beats of the bar are 2/8 notes long. So you get this sort of beating pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is like one of the most dancey ways of dividing it up. And for the bulk of the track, that's how I've divided it. And then I also have it switched to be in 5/4 in some places, and I have it switched to be in an evenly divided 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. With the snare being put onto the third pulse like a typical beat, and then I have the ride cymbal like in the middle. So here's this thing. Hopefully it'll load. It's not too complex in terms of sound design, so I hope it will run. Okay, it's not running. I don't have a name for this track yet. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments, because I'm at a loss for this kind of thing. And here it comes to the switch up. Slows down, goes into an even bar. And now that drop goes fucking hard, okay? You can't tell me it doesn't go hard. It's a little weird, I admit, but I think it goes hard. So I started with taking a drum beat that I got from Splice, and I stuck it in Fruity Slicer. I took a couple samples of like drum loops that I found on Splice, and then I heavily processed them and chopped them up. So these are... I have them going through transient shaping. I'm splitting out the low end to run a sidechain, for example. Yeah, here's the main one here. That's the main loop, and I ran that through processing. I cut the low end out and I set it to a separate channel, which I'm using for sidechain, and then I've layered it with this one, which is just this pattern here. It's just on off like weird beats because the drum beat is kind of in 5. It sort of feels like it's got a little wonky groove to it and it feels kind of fun. The drum beat you can think of as in 5, but I think of this whole track as being in 10/8. So if I open up this pattern here, see, technically, this kick comes on the 3rd quarter note, and then the snare always comes on beat 4, or the 4th quarter note. But technically, in 5/8, it would be, this is the first beat, this is the second beat, and this is the 3rd beat, and this is the 4th beat, and that's how I'm approaching it. So I'm the way I think of it is this kick is on the 2nd 8th note of beat 2 rather than, yeah, that's the way I see it for this main loop. And I think it's interesting. And then I wrote this like piano thing. It's a big, complicated, messy thing here. I'm running it through a bit crusher, which makes it sort of and because a bit crusher reduces the audio quality, it basically removes all of the higher notes because that's how sample rates work. So it just ends up being this F. This thing is an this thing is sort of an F minor. Maybe it's a little modal. I didn't really think about a key. I just thought it's like has a centric pitch, which is F. Jeez, man. And I'm just going. It's just F, and then F sharp. It's just a simple. That's how I'm thinking about it. I didn't really think about the chord. There's probably some music theory way of explaining it. I didn't think about it while I was writing it. But it's sort of a 5 or a 7 chord, probably. It's sort of dominant sounding, so that's good enough for me. And then I brought in violins on the same chords, and I brought in trombones. All of the real instruments come from Labs, because Labs got that sauce. I've got this ambience loop here. Because I originally wanted this to start off as being more like rhythm, but the drums hit too hard for it to be rhythm, in my opinion. It's not a kick, it's not a clap, it's a snare, and so the basses are kind of like rhythm, but I think the track goes a little too hard to be considered rhythm at this point, in my opinion. And you know, it's such a subjective thing, so I don't really think it matters all that much. The basses are super simple. It's like they're not even this isn't really about basses. It's a FM square. I'm FMing square with the synced sine wave, and I've got flanger on it to get the classic rhythm feel, and I've got all of my typical processing chain EQ high pass with the little notchy boy in it. And there's this, which is same thing but saw waves, basically. Yeah, it's a comb filter and not a flanger on this one, but it's the same kind of idea. Basic sine wave sub bass with some tube saturation on it. But yeah, this part there's only 2 basses, and then I've got a growly wub here. Which is this guy. FFT squeal, same thing, high pass with a notch, which is just automated on the LFO. Look, that's the filter. Hyperdimension, same like the same processing chain. This one has a bit more in it. I added the flanger later on because I thought it might need it. This one has a phaser on it because it's supposed to be more of a growl, and phasers help a lot with the growly sound because it phases, you know how it is. But that's all the basses I have so far. And except for these guys, where I switch up the rhythmic pattern, I bring in another bass which is almost the same. It's another saw bass. I just use this subby saw because I want it to be a little more thick, I guess. It's just on a different note. I put it on the same note, but I tuned it differently, so it sounds a bit different. But it's fundamentally the same sound as the scrapey, high-pitched one. It's fundamentally the same thing. And when I switch up the beat here to being on the interesting part about this part is I slow it down and switch it to be. I basically have 2 even beats of 5 rather than 4 uneven beats, and I think that's not a normal thing to do with 10/8, but I thought it was interesting. It feels kind of more like it's in 4 or 2 with a quintuplet groove. That's kind of what I was going for, and the wub bass, it isn't intentional at all, but it sort of feels like it's offset a little bit because of the way the envelope is, so it feels like it's kind of gasping for air, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll fix it later, but then I decided, it's kind of cool, so I'm going to keep it. But apart from that, the only notable thing is the percussion and the hi-hats. And these are just 2 default cymatics hi-hats. I have a higher pitched one and a lower pitched one. They're from their like sample pack, their free sample pack that came out when they were trying to capitalize off of Travis Scott's Astroworld. So I've got 2 of those hi-hats. They're trap hi-hats. The higher pitched one is basically supposed to be like it's supposed to be like, basically the hi-hats are just ticking every 8th note in the bar, and the higher one ticks off where the pulses are supposed to be felt, basically. And that helps me like organize into beats because it's uneven. And I've got perks, which are the same sort of idea. Same idea. These are also from a cymatics pack, I believe. They could be, yeah, they're from a cymatics pack. Nope, they're from Who Came After's pack. Okay. Who Came After, if I remember, are actually kind of shit, but they got a good sample pack. They got a couple good snares, so yeah, that's where I got those from. But apart from that, I didn't really do much innovative in terms of sound design. But bit crushing, frequency shifter. That's basically the dubstep staple at this point. So the interesting thing is the rhythm, and I'm just going to deconstruct the bass rhythm here real quick. This is the main rhythm. Because the beats are slightly longer, the first 2 beats of the bar are 50% longer than the second 2 beats of the bar. It gives an interesting feeling. So the square bass is on beat 1 and 3 here, and then 2 is just this the saw bass, and it's just screeching. 1, 2, ba, 1, 2, 3, and ba ba. Yeah, that's basically 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. It's basically simple. It's just the beats are. If it wasn't uneven, it would basically just be quarter notes with like slightly offset rhythms because rhythm. But it's not that complicated at all. And then this one is the one with the. This one is just first 4 eighth notes, then an eighth note, then 4 eighth notes, then an eighth note, 4 eighth notes, then an eighth note, and then 3 eighths notes, and then this one. It's pretty simple. I think that pattern's kind of cool. It's kind of got a groove to it. I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was kind of cool. I want to finish this. I mean, if you don't like it, I understand, because it's not really as dancey. It's more like wonky and weird to wiggle around to. But I think it's more of a song that you listen to rather than a song that you dance to. But it is kind of groovy if you like aren't too put off by the sudden tempo change here. The sudden tempo and massive rhythm change here, because it slows down from 155 to the quarter note to 147.5 to the quarter note, and then it speeds back up when it gets out of the drop. But that only slows down because it felt way more awkward to switch up the groove without doing that, I find. I don't know. And oh, the ride cymbal in this section, this section here, I struggled to fix this because I wanted to have it feel like it was in 2, right? So what I did here is I basically stretched it out to be on the beats. And then I sort of did this. I just dragged it out so that it was lined up like so. And then I just deleted these ones. Pretty simple. But because the project itself is in 5, it made it a little complicated. But it's an easy thing to do. But yeah, that's this project. If you have ideas for what I should call it, just put them in the thing down there. Put them in the thing. Thanks for watching. It's been a while since I've done one of these project breakdown kind of things. I don't know what to cover for the tutorials. So right now, build up tutorial for the how to dubstep 101 series is gonna be the next video, probably. Might be a little bit, but stay tuned.